Coming to you live, previously recorded from Woower's Cantina.
We don't serve their kind here.
This is Mos Eisley Radio, your source for Star Wars gaming news.
Welcome back, everybody, to Mos Eisley Radio, your source for Star Wars gaming news. My name is Evan Lewis, and I am, of course, joined by the incomparable and, thank goodness, unclonable Leo Andri. How are you, sir?
How do you know I'm unclonable?
I'm just putting that out there. You can't clone Jedi, right? Well, no, you can. That's right.
You can clone Luke,
but only if you give him an extra U in his name. That's what
you can clone. Joris Sabath.
But he also had an extra U. You have no U's in your name.
Why can't you clone Jedi?
I don't know. That was what they were. I think that was something they said to justify not cloning Jedi in the Clone Wars. People are like, well, why don't you just clone Jedi to fight here instead of this guy all the time? You can't clone Jedi. But then, of course, that flies in the face of everything else.
Yeah, well,
so I think
there's one more reason why I don't watch that show.
Yeah. So, okay, wait a minute. So, would you have the extra E or an extra O? Would you be Lee-O or Leo? If we cloned you.
I'd prefer an extra L.
It would be Leo, or if we went Spanish, it'd be
yes.
Yayo.
Yes, exactly.
Yayo. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. So, last time on Mos Eisley Radio, we left on a cliffhanger. We were smack in the middle of talking about some living card game news. I think we did manage to get through your review of A Dark Time, correct?
Yeah.
We'll say yes. And so we've got more LCG to talk about, and of course, we have Age of the Empire to talk about. Not surprising. But, as we usually do, I want to start off with some SWTOR thoughts. And there is some kind of cool news, but right off the bat, I finally got my guy transferred over from Pot 5 to Shadowlands, and I hit 50, and our good friend Seth helped me finish off my story quest, and I was very underwhelmed by the end of the Trooper story quest. But I suppose that just means I'm supposed to keep going and go to Ilum and do stuff there and be excited by those things.
Yeah. Or you end up like me.
You mean old and jaded?
No, I mean like I tried to do all the Ilum quest stuff and I get to the last quest and it's bugged out.
Well, how long ago was that? Surely they must have fixed it by now.
Well, let's see, the last time we played, which was during all that grease, still hadn't then. In fact, the only thing that the Theta Space, I was basically told, oh, just drop the quest and do the whole quest line over again, which I didn't want to do, so yeah. I just have never been able to complete the quest. Oh, well.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there that's actually a classy quest. Is it? I mean, it seemed like the story ended before you went there. Is that how it seemed for your
well,
smuggler?
Yeah, I mean, for the class quest, yeah. But...
Right. But I mean, there's nothing there that's gonna, like, oh my goodness, a great revelation, I can't believe this happened. Right? No? Yes, no, maybe?
I don't know. I didn't get to finish it out.
Well, I didn't know if you'd heard, like, oh man, once you get to Ilum, you won't believe what happens. Because actually, I'm looking more at, now that I'm a high-level guy, not really doing Battlegrounds because I suck at PvP, but, running through all of the other, like, flashpoints that I missed out on, and maybe hooking up with other guys and doing operations, because that's more like what I'd be interested in than PvP morning, day, and night. And it sounded as if you were right smack in the middle of transferring yourself. Thinking about it still?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, there's
Still
no
don't
reason
think
for
I'll
you not
play.
to. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You got cash burning a hole in your virtual pocket, unless you really want to buy that Sarlacc.
Oh, I do so much.
But I think you should come over anyways, because it's where everybody else is, and maybe you get a hankering for it one day and you're like, you know what, let's do it. I know. Maybe not. But in other news, but I should finish that off really quick. I was having a ton of fun. 2 nights in a row, stayed up way too late playing. It's that scenario of one more quest becomes 5 more minutes, and then you're like, oh crap, it's been an hour. So, I'm on that high end of the enjoyment level, and then I'll have something get in the way, and it'll drop me back down to 0, and I'll just be like, well, I can't really play now, and then I'll be like, well, I'm not getting my money's worth. So, hopefully it doesn't happen again, but that's just the way I go, apparently. So on some news, they're making a big deal about KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, the original one, turning 10 years old. And they're going to have some things up. We didn't talk about this last time, did we?
No.
I didn't think so, but of course they caught my attention. There's going to be a blog from James Olin talking about KOTOR because he was involved in that and how they transitioned to Old Republic. There's going to be apparently a title that you can buy on July 15th that is Revan's Heir. So it's only 10 cartel coins, but I'm hoping there's more to it than just, I got a title. That seems a little lame. And cartel coin giveaways throughout the day on the Facebook page. And
What day is that?
July 15th? Well, at least the 24 hours to get the Revan's Heir is July 15th at 2 a.m. Central to July 16th, 2 a.m. Central. So I suppose you could spend your hardly earned cartel coins on that too. But, I mean, I would really hope that they would do something besides that, like put all of the KOTOR gear from the cartel market into a single purchasable crate. So you can just be like, all I want is KOTOR stuff. That's all I want. In fact, that's all that I want from the market. There's nothing else on there that interests me. I'm just like, keep the KOTOR coming. That's it. You've got me. Just keep it coming. So there's that little bit of news. And besides that, in the video for the Insider for the month of July that you can see on YouTube, they talk a little bit about what's coming up later this summer. They've got, of course, previews of the next game update, 2.3, Titans of Industry. We talked about that last time. What we didn't talk about last time is the new companion that you can get on the market or through Legacy, similar to HK, and that is the Ewok companion named Shriek, and the video is, of course, cute and funny. Not cute like, Wicked, so adorable, but more like the Ewok from NJO that was actually pretty cool. Remember that?
No.
It was the guy that was the stand-in buddy for Han. Didn't he get an Ewok buddy at some point? Or some other smuggler had an Ewok buddy who was like really, really freaking mean.
Oh, yeah. No, wasn't he partnered up with some kind of Celestin or something?
Oh, yeah. You're right. That was a different person.
I know what you're talking about now.
That was pretty funny. And if this is anything like that, then that's pretty cool. They got to make the Universal companions a bit more, not necessarily sinister, but lots of personality, and that usually entails being a little bit mean. So that's pretty neat. I'm sure that's still required. Well, it might not require Hut Cartel, but I'm on the fence about getting that, just because I'm towards the end, and I don't want anything else standing in my way of my trooper, continuing to advance and see cool stuff. But like I said, I need to go back and do the stuff that I missed, because all I did was concentrate on getting to 50. And as far as other news go, they talk about some of the other things on the market, and they talked about the upcoming flashpoints and everything. They've got, did we mention Nightmare Mode last time? I think we did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I just want to make sure we hit it all. So I think that's it for SWTOR news. Just wanted to put out there that I'm back on Shadowlands now. Had to change my name again, so...
What's this note you've got on here about bounty hunting?
Oh, yeah. Totally forgot about that. It's a new monthly event from how they were talking about it, where, and it's not a PvP, but it's kind of like in the bounty hunter / assassin missions from KOTOR 1 where they'd send you all over the galaxy looking for guys. I'm not sure there's going to be much else to it besides, hey, go find this guy and kill him and get money for it. You know, I would hope there'd be more to it than just that. But, yeah, you're going to be able to fly around, get jobs from presumably gangsters or, you know, maybe cops. We'll give you a job to go find a guy. And, of course, be more involved than just, you enter the cantina. He's sitting right there. So, it could be interesting. I hope it's interesting, at least. This is something that we kind of talked about back in the day, but more in a PvP perspective. What would you think about that? Would you prefer bounty hunting to be PvP or not?
Well, I did have a hard time balancing it, you know.
Oh, well, yeah. Definitely.
But it'd still be really cool if they did that.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how they'd implement it, but, you know, it's one of those things you slap on the wall of ideas and say, can we do this?
Yeah, I mean, and like on a PvP server, you know,
which I just got away from because I get tired of douchebags running up and ganking me in the middle of a quest. But I know you prefer that because it's more realistic, right?
Not so much that it's more realistic; it's that it's more fun. I think
to get ganked.
You don't get ganked that often, especially, well...
Oh, I did.
You just always had bad luck. Same thing with WoW. Like, I hardly ever got ganked.
Because you usually ran in a gang yourself.
No.
You were walking down the street, snapping your fingers.
But, you know, there's just... Of course, it didn't really matter so much in this game because every single planet is designed for maximum stupidity.
You mean to keep you away from the other guys?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas, you know, there's other games, you know, there's a lot more overlap and stuff. So you would run into your opposing faction a lot more.
Right.
And I don't know, there was just brought some tension and actual excitement to running around in an area that you don't get in a PvE server where, you know, unless you engage an enemy, you're always completely safe. Just think of it more like a, rather than being ganked, think of it more like a random encounter and you're playing Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, but I don't have my spiky hair, my Buster Sword. I mean, at least I have that going for me. Oh, speaking of which, did you hear that they're actually offering, like, Final Fantasy VII DLC for the next installment of the Final Fantasy 13 series?
Didn't hear that.
Yeah.
No.
That's how they're trying to get people to keep buying more Final Fantasy 13.
Whatever. I'm sure it's still going to be a terrible game if it's anything like the first Final Fantasy 13 was.
Yeah. Not to go off on a tangent, but of all the Final Fantasies to make a series out of, I can't believe it's that one.
Yeah, it's absolutely the worst one I have ever played.
And you have played number 8.
Yeah.
Actually, I liked 8. It was not the worst one, by any means.
Well, yeah, not now that 13's out.
There you go. Squall has been redeemed. All right. If we want to start a Final Fantasy podcast, we would do it. I think it would be very short.
Well, you know, okay, Final Fantasy VIII did have one thing going for it, and that was wasn't there a dinosaur in it?
A dinosaur?
God, I swear I remember
as
fighting
a summon?
No, like you fight one. I swear I remember that. Or am I completely thinking of a different game here?
Well, I'm sure there could very well have been. I mean, dinosaurs are not unheard of in Final Fantasy. Was it a particular big boss?
I thought you fight like a big ass T-Rex.
Well, I mean, hey, if anything's going to make a game awesome, it's going to be going toe-to-toe with a T-Rex with his little stinky arms. Alright. As we were saying, Star Wars. Living card game. Well, last time we got through... What was it again? Oh yeah, a dark time. A singular dark time, as I recall. And at the time, you had just purchased Assault on Echo Base, but you hadn't had a chance to look over it much. How about now?
Well, I've had a chance to look over it. Still, I haven't had a chance to play with it just yet. It's like I said, I still have such a hard time finding players in my area, and it makes me cry.
Now, do you think people are just not interested in it? Like, everyone knows about it, or they're just not marketing it enough? It seems like it just has much more of a muted presence than X-Wing. For some reason, I don't know why everyone seems to know X-Wing, but they don't know the LCG.
Well, probably more word of mouth. I mean, for the most part, X-Wing's got nothing but love and praise heaped on it.
Right.
You know, most reviews and things of the card game have been, you know, ranging from it's okay to it's still not as good as the Decipher game was, you know?
Yeah, which I think is an unfortunate comparison.
Yeah,
Since
I mean,
pretty different games.
You know, and I think that's part of the problem is, you know, I think there's a big chunk of players out there who, if they're gonna play a card game, they're gonna keep playing the Decipher one, which was, frankly, is a hell of a lot better than this game. I mean, I still really like the game, but to compare the two, this one's a pretty, it just, you know, doesn't hold up.
Well, but
you know, it's still better than the Wizards of the Coast game was. I did not like that game at all.
Well, since we're on the subject, what is it for... I mean, I think a lot of people missed out on the Decipher game. We may have gone over this in the past, but what was it about that you think continues to have people so enamored with it?
Well, I think it's just that playing the game feels a lot like acting out the movie in some ways, you know? Okay. You know,
there's a logic to it?
Yeah, and there's different theaters of battle too. I mean, you can be having fights down on the surface of a planet while you have your ships up in space fighting each other. You can do just about anything you imagine happening in the movies, you can make happen in the game. I mean, you know, you can blow up the Death Star. You can, if you're the Imperials, you can destroy Hoth's shield generators. You know, you can initiate, lightsaber duels between, Jedi and Sith characters. You can even have, votes in the Senate if you really want to do that. You can have pod races. You can play Sabacc.
That's right. They did have an episode 1 expansion, didn't they?
Well, they had 3 of them. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'd forgotten that because that was the
or
end
was
of
it
its
2?
life cycle.
2 or 3? It's 2 or 3.
I think it was.
I think there was a Tatooine, a Coruscant, and a Naboo expansion. I think were the 3.
Battle of Naboo. Now that you have jogged my memory, was the title of it.
But yeah, I mean, you can do damn near anything. I mean, you can capture characters, escort them to your ship, and fly them off somewhere else to collect a bounty. You can freeze characters in Carbonite. You can, like I said, pretty much everything. Whereas the living card game's a little bit more abstracted. It's just, You're just kind of throwing cards at each other. And it's a fine game. It's a fun game to play. It doesn't really feel like Star Wars, though. I mean, if it didn't have Star Wars printed on it, I probably wouldn't be that interested in it. It's just an average card game.
Well, that brings up an interesting question also. Do you think that's a symptom of I don't want to call it a fad, but I mean, there were trading card games for pretty much everything in the mid to late 90s, and ones like Star Wars, which kind of played off of some of Star Trek's mechanics, were really, really, really involved and needed tons of errata for every expansion, when you compare that to like Magic the Gathering, which, yeah, it has some errata, but it's usually because it's a new mechanic that gets discarded in the next cycle. Comparing those against things like LCGs and, to a much lesser extent, deck-building games, do you think it's just a matter of different styles of game, or was it just a design decision, you think, on the part of the Star Wars team that makes it less visceral, I guess?
I think it was, partially just, it was really just a design decision. I mean, they definitely could have done a bunch of different things to make it a little bit more thematic, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even just like the Lord of the Rings card game does a good job of capturing the feel of you're going out on this quest. You've got, a thing to do, to complete. And, there's enemies who are coming up against you trying to stop you. It captures the feel of Lord of the Rings.
And I think we would say the same thing for Game of Thrones. A couple times you and I got to play, and then I've played more times with the other guys. I mean, the other guys, Tom and Christian and Jared from Board and Base have remarked, man, this really feels like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, and they do a good job of, making, the Lannisters kind of, their theme is, they get lots of money and stuff like that, and they all have, each one of the different houses kind of have their own different themes. And they sort of do that, with this game too, where each faction does have its own themes and stuff like that, but it just doesn't, it just like when you have your battles, it doesn't feel quite like Star Wars. It just, I mean, it feels almost, it's sort of like, it just feels like you're playing a card game. You're not actually playing Star Wars.
I gotcha. You're playing mechanics, not the story.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's what we've been trying to nail down amongst the group that plays here, is there's just something about it that's not quite hitting the Star Wars button, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a fine card game. It's just not the best Star Wars card game.
Right.
But, like I said, all that being said, I still enjoy playing the game. I still have a lot of fun playing it. Mm-hmm. It's just, I wish there was more Star Wars to my Star Wars card game.
Yeah. Well, do you think we'll get any more depth with the Edge of Darkness expansion, which should be releasing probably within the next couple of weeks?
I'm hoping so. I mean, obviously, some stuff like the capturing mechanic is definitely going to be expanded, and it'll be nice to have a little bit more, that'll add a little bit more variety to the game. I guess that's just in general kind of what my big hope for the game is, that as more sets come out and they kind of continue to expand upon all the different mechanics, things will start to feel a little bit more like Star Wars. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it was even just little things like the fact that your X-Wing doesn't come with an astromech. So if you want to stick your R2-D2 card in that X-Wing, you can do that. And then you stick a pilot in there too. Whereas here, I think we remarked upon on this on an earlier episode, where it's just like, you have an X-Wing card and you also have a X-Wing pilot card.
Yep.
But those cards have nothing to do with each other. They're just both sort of there,
Mm-hmm. And that seems like it should be the easiest thing in the world. When you look at these two cards side by side, you're like, well, I'm going to battle with these two guys. Maybe I can put that guy on top of that vehicle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they have started doing that some. Like, I seen, if I remember right, Wedge in one of the earlier Haas sets, like, you can play him as an enhancement on a speeder, which, essentially is like putting him on there as a pilot.
Right. Do you think that lack of, I guess I'd call it fine mechanics, was basically an effort to keep it simple to get Star Wars fans in? People who wouldn't normally play complicated card games?
Could be. But I mean, see, that's it's not really any simpler to play than, say, like, the Game of Thrones game.
Well, although, they did release a very, very simplified version of Game of Thrones based on the HBO series.
True. Which I haven't played yet, but one of my friends...
Yeah, it's in the bargain bin in my store, along with the Uncharted board game. Don't ever, 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 ever even think about buying that. I have it on good authority. Well, I guess that's our thoughts on the living card game now.
Yeah.
Now you know the truth. The truth is out there. But your final thought is it's a fun game. You should play it. It's just not hitting the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something to replace, if you play the Decipher card game and you're looking for something to replace that, this is not it. Mm-hmm. If you've never played that, and you're just looking for a fun game to play, then, this is going to be fun to play.
There really aren't any more of those, like, super complicated trading card games, are there? You just got Magic and, from what I've heard, a less complicated version of Pokemon.
Well, tons of people play Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I'll never understand.
I suppose that's true, too.
Yeah. I don't know, Netrunner, well, and then, like, the different living card games do quite well. Like, Netrunner's been, at least... Oh my
gosh, that's so fun.
I still haven't played it, but we've been, like, my game store sells tons of Netrunner.
You have got to play that with your buddy that said he was going to get all those, and you were going to get the Star Wars.
Yeah, which he never did. Jerk.
Ugh. Man, it's so complicated at first, like, because the two sides are completely different. But once you get the hang of it, like the first game, you get learn it, and then second time it'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Maybe we should start a Netrunner podcast.
I'd have to start playing it first.
I suppose that's true. And all the in-jokes in it are super funny, too. Alright, well, that's Living Card Game. Look for Edge of Darkness. Oh, yeah. There has not been anything on the FFG website about a second cycle. There is going to be one. And, of course, it'll probably be Dagobah. But no sign of it yet.
Well, they usually after they do, from what I've read about the way they kind of have done their expansions for some of their other living card games is they'll do a cycle, and then like we're doing a cycle, and then we're having a deluxe expansion, and then they usually hold off for a few months then before they start up another cycle. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll announce it. They'll either release it or announce it at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll probably talk about something at Gen Con. Or if not Gen Con, at Worlds at the very least this fall.
Oh, maybe they'll announce at Gen Con and release there. That would make sense.
Could be. Yeah. You think we're going to see Wave 3 for X-Wing at Gen Con?
It'll probably be... Oh,
I mean, do you think they're gonna have it for sale come Gen Con? Sort of like, that's the first place they sold X-Wing and the card game there.
I was gonna say no, but you're right. They could very well have it be the same case. I think they would need to divert another truck the same way they did for Netrunner, because they didn't see that coming.
Yeah, because they, there's not much left to spoil, as far as cards and stats and anything left in any of the expansion sets. They've revealed pretty much everything, which usually means that they're getting ready to release it very soon.
Yeah, and barring any manufacturing issues like they had with Wave 2, they should be good to go. In fact, they had Wave 2 behind glass at Gen Con when, the base game wasn't even out in the wild. It was just being sold there. They already had Wave 2 behind glass, so they seem to put them out in short order compared to some of the other things they've had. So, moving on, of course, I think last time we did our show like a few days, maybe a week before the release of the official Edge of the Empire Core Rules set. But of course now it's out. We've had it in our grubby hands for a while. In fact, you got it on day one, didn't you?
Yeah, well, because I had went over to my local game shop we do like an X-Wing league every Tuesday. And it just, they were just sitting there on the counter like they had just come in and they hadn't even put them out on the shelves yet or anything. And I was like, are those for sale yet? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. Here you go. And I did.
So you went out that night, you told your wife, I'm gonna go out, play a game. It's like, okay. Then you come back, I spent $100. She's like, did you won $100? No, I spent $100. Is that pretty much how it went?
Mm-hmm.
So I think actually the thing that I've been noticing as I've been raving about it on Twitter and Facebook is it worth the price? Because you've got the core rulebook, which is itself $60.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the dice, which are $15, and people might say $15 for dice. Chessex only cost between $5 and $10. Well, it's double the dice, so it's not really that bad, really. And then you got the GM kit. If you're one of the few blessed souls who's a GM, and that's $20, I think. It's $20.
Yep.
So, I mean, in theory, if you're the guy running the show, it's going to cost you upwards of $100. And if you're a player, you're not content to just have guys be made for you, or, I need to borrow the book, pass the book this way so I can make my guy. And you're going to have your dice and your own book. Well, that's $75, unless you get it on Amazon. So what do you think, as far as price to value?
Well, the book's a big book. I mean,
yeah, it is.
It's as fat as like the Pathfinder core book.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's like 430 pages or something like that.
I think so.
So I would say, definitely with that, yeah, you're getting everything out of that. The dice, on the other hand, that's something where you might almost be better off, especially if you're going to be a GM,
mm-hmm.
buying the beginner's kit.
Oh.
Because you get the dice then, plus you get the adventure, you get the tokens, the map, all that, this is kind of like that cool little extra stuff.
I honestly still do want that.
It's really not that much more than just a set of dice.
Right. But yeah, I was saying to Seth that, I've got the core rule set, but I still want that beginner box. I didn't get it at the time, because I think it was Christmas, and I was like, maybe I'll get it for Christmas, and then I didn't, and then there were other things to buy. So, did you ever buy the beginner box?
No, I haven't yet.
But you still want to?
Yeah, because I think it might be nice to just have double the dice.
Oh, and if you're going to teach people how to play, those pre-gens are awfully nice.
Yeah, because you only come with, like, a pack comes with 3, the difficulty dice,
mm-hmm.
like 3 difficulty dice and 3 of the ability dice.
Yep.
And there's going to be times where you're, especially, with the difficulty dice and stuff, where you might be rolling, 4 or 5.
Yep.
So
that's true.
Having that second set won't necessarily hurt.
I noticed that same kind of thing with X-Wing, where it was like, I should really have double the dice, because a number of times come up where I have to borrow somebody else's, but I hate borrowing somebody else's in the middle of a game.
Yeah, that's one thing that always kind of annoyed me. When right there in the base set, it's frequently you will frequently be rolling 4 dice of a type, mm-hmm. and yet they only give you 3 of each.
Yeah.
Which most people say, well, just, they're like, well, if you're really going to play, you want a second core set anyways. Well, yeah, but it still seems kind of like just sort of like a move to try and get people to buy a second core set, or to make sure that they buy those extra dice or whatever. Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing the other day about the LCG, actually, because you bought a second set so that you could be competitive with it. That seems to be a recurring theme here.
Yeah, but I think Though there with the core set, it's like to double the amount of cards in there, I think would put it at a price point where a lot of people wouldn't buy it then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like there with the X-Wing core set, to put 2 more dice in there, you know, would add not that much to the cost.
True. Getting back to the core rule book itself, it hit me that, you know, you flip through it, and of course the front is essentially the player's section. It's a player's handbook. Then the middle section, about running the game and being a good GM, and the storytelling and the setting, because there's, you know, tons of it there. You could make the argument that that's essentially a Dungeon Master book and a campaign setting book. And the back section is all the bad guys. So you've got, you know, in quotations, a monster manual too.
Yeah, well, it's laid out pretty much the same way as, you know, like any of the other recent, like any of the D20 Star Wars core books were. It's about the same thing. You had the front half part with the players and character creation, then combat and stuff, and then finally the back half was sort of like all the GM stuff. So, you know, it's pretty similar to that. It's just there's a lot more, you know. I mean, this is approaching 3 times as thick as my Saga core rulebook, you know. Yeah,
I've actually got the copy of RCR that you gave me, and it's standing right next to it on the shelf, and there is a substantial difference between the two.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Which also is like, even things like the Game Master screen here you get. Is even that's a heck of a lot higher quality than the Wizards ones were.
Yeah, this thing is long. It's way long.
Well, not just that it's long, it's pretty heavy duty cardboard.
Yeah.
I mean, this is as thick as most like actual board game boards are now.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how heavy it was picking it up.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, it's got a lot of your useful stuff on the inside. Just overview of all the different difficulty levels with the difficulty dice, attack ranges, stats for all the basic weapons that are in the game, and all their, you know, special abilities, critical charts, some other stuff for, you know, actions in combat and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, you kind of think to yourself at first, well, it's, you know, it's no different than any other GM screen, but it seems like there's a lot more referencing to do here.
On the inside, it's not that different than any other GM screen. It's mostly the nice thing is just how heavy duty it is. You know, it's going to stand up to a lot, it seems like.
Oh yeah, but like what I was saying was that I found myself as a GM for this game, I was having to do a lot more referencing. Like it was less intuitive sometimes.
Well, I think that's just because you haven't used the system as much.
That could be too.
You know, with any D20 system, I mean, even if you had never played the Star Wars D20 system, but you had played, you know, D&D 3.5 or whatever,
right?
You can jump right into the Star Wars system, with almost no knowledge whatsoever, and be just fine.
Right. Because everything in there is +2, -2, pretty much. Oh, so we talked about the core rulebook. We talked about... Oh, and of course there's an adventure in the back of the core rulebook.
Yeah.
That is not Crates of Crates.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little adventure. Read through it. Seems like it would be a fun one to run your players through. And then they give you an adventure with the Game Master screen too.
I was going to say that. That's pretty awesome that they give you that on top of just the screen.
Yeah, and then there's a little thing at the end of it, that's sort of like a section on, that's just another little thing for GMs. That's like, you know, a guide to creating a nemesis, you know, for your party. That's the one part that's kind of weird. It just seems like something sort of weird that was just kind of tacked onto here. Because it's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5.5 pages long. You know, like that just seems like it just should have been something that got put into the Game Masters section of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or held off until they come out with an actual like Game Masters handbook or whatever.
Yeah, I think I was thinking the same thing, that maybe they were looking for something to put into the GM kit's manual besides just another adventures, some actual piece of GMing that you should, you would like to know. Yeah,
I mean, that's great, but it just seems like either they should have put more in or just left it out. I mean, because just for that little tiny bit,
mm-hmm.
I mean, how often is a person going to come and reference this, dig this out for these 3 pages of stuff, you know?
Right, exactly. Well, and the thing is that there's plenty of advanced GMing knowledge to be shared that's not covered in the core book. I mean, even the Pathfinder core rule book, the whole back section of that is for the GM.
Yeah.
But then they still have a Game Master's Guide that is lauded for being one of the best GM books ever.
I mean, it's just not to say they're not going to come out with one. I'd be surprised if they don't, but I mean, this just seems like this is the sort of thing that would fit better in there.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this whole book is only 30 pages long, and almost 25 of those pages are the adventure that's in the book. So,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just seems like they should have just had left it at an adventure, or if the information is also repeated again then in the Game Master's Handbook, well then I suppose that'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
The one other thing I don't like is just the fact that it's a real just flimsy book,
Yeah, it's
the Game Master's Kit book. I mean, you run. It wouldn't take too many playing sessions for this adventure book to get pretty beat up.
Yeah, it's basically a high gloss
magazine.
Magazine, maybe even between a comic book and a magazine. And the free RPG Day book, Shadows of a Dark Sun, is very much like that. They're both on my shelf, but they're so thin you can barely see them.
I mean, that's a little different. I mean, that's a free thing for free RPG Day. This is something people are paying for.
Mm-hmm. Well, then do you think that a book, a manual, was even necessary for the GM screen, or do you think they could have knocked off $5 for the cost of the screen and just given you a nice heavy-duty screen?
I don't know. Well, see, the thing is, you're not going to be buying the screen unless you're a GM.
Mm-hmm.
And as a GM, I really appreciate having the extra adventure in there. So, so no, I think it's nice to have in there. It really is. I think and in fact, for me, if it didn't come with that adventure, I might have just been a little bit more tempted to not even bother buying the screen and just use a screen from, one of my D20 screens or even my West End Games screen that I've got.
Yeah, I'm happy because I never got a Star Wars screen. In fact, just the other day when I was at Half Price Books, this was maybe the week that Edge of the Empire came out, but before I'd gotten it, I was looking in their RPG section because that's what I do at Half Price Books, and they finally had a used copy of Saga Core Rules, probably because someone was selling it to get Edge of the Empire. And they haven't had a copy of Saga Core Rules in a couple years. But I don't need it now. And then
it's still nice to have around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get rid of mine.
Even though you don't really like it.
Even though.
Well, the one that I wish I had, that I wish I'd bought, oh my gosh, I beat myself up every day for not buying the KOTOR source book. I wish I had that. Not that I, don't know the stories, but, just to have it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the game stores in town here has a copy of the Saga Unknown Regions.
Oh, the last one,
source book. And I'm always kind of tempted whenever I go to that store, but I never do.
I heard that was one of the best ones, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and speaking of expansions, the first module has been up on the FFG site for quite some time, and it is called Beyond the Rim. You can get a look at it up there. I mean, not an in-depth preview like they do right before launching a product, but you can get some idea of what it's all about. And I'd really love it if all the printed stories could be, I mean, yeah, they can be connected, but if they were intended to be that way, I think that'd be really awesome. But of course, they don't.
Yeah, but
they
in
don't
some
have
ways,
to be.
I mean, yeah, but I could see, that being a problem too, if you've got somebody who, your adventure group didn't run through the first adventure, but you just want to do this second one or whatever, it could be kind of awkward then if they're supposed to be connected.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it looks kind of interesting just in the fact that you're kind of out on the rim. You find out about this long lost treasury ship from the separatists, the guys who were breaking away from the Republic in the prequel movies. And so it's sounds like you're kind of going out on a treasure hunt to try and find this long lost ship. So
should be cool.
Yeah, sounds like they've done a lot to kind of bridge the Clone Wars and Rebellion era in this book.
Yeah, as I was flipping through the core rules, and I was looking through the planets or the sectors portion of the setting, and they mention Mandalorian space, and they didn't go into detail, but they did touch on the events of the Clone Wars in there. So if there are people who want to maybe run Star Wars with this system, but not in the time frame that it's specifically set in, gives you details for that too.
Yeah, I mean, you can really do just about anything you want with it. I mean, the rules are intended to be run during this certain time frame and stuff. But I guess, there's nothing stopping you from doing it in any other time period.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be interesting. And it looks like it's actually, it's going to be higher quality, a hardcover book and stuff versus like the flimsy little magazines that we've got so far for adventures.
Mm-hmm. And then the next item that just got announced today, the 11th of July, is the first rules expansion, and it's called Enter the Unknown, and it is specifically it's the explorer career, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's specifically built to not just advance, but open up new career possibilities for the explorer. And based on the image that they're showing us, we can't really tell if it's hardcover or softcover. Presumably
it looks
hardcover
on the image there. Yeah, I don't know. The thing I find most interesting is the fact that there's a chiss on the cover.
I thought that was odd too.
I mean, it is called Enter the Unknown, so I mean, they could be referencing the unknown regions. So, I mean,
yeah.
I would imagine they've got to have some stuff in there, like, okay, here are things that you can run into while your explorer is exploring these unknown regions.
Mm-hmm.
And the chiss would be one of those things. But, beyond just stuff for the explorer, it looks like it's going to have a lot of stuff, new gear, droids, vehicles. And then there's just going to be stuff for GMs even in this book about incorporating sort of like the, adventures that kind of circle around the explorer's themes, which is exploration, trade, and hunting. And there's going to be 3 new specializations for the explorer career, the archaeologist, the big game hunter, and the driver.
Yeah, that last one was kind of odd. It's just like the odd man out, the driver. You're going to be like Jason Statham, maybe. I guess he was a transporter, technically.
Did you ever play that game on the PlayStation, Driver?
Oh, the original one.
Yeah, not Driver 2 or Driver 3, which both sucked, but the original Driver.
I remember.
Awesome.
I remember you playing that. What was it? After I graduated and I came back from basic. Yeah, I don't think I ever actually got to play it myself. I just watched. I was like, oh yeah, look at that. I think that was when GTA 1 also came out. If I'm not too mistaken.
No.
No.
GTA 1 was way older than that.
I'll take your word for it. But
yeah, GTA 1 was PC. GTA 1 came out when... God, I don't remember when, but I remember being a lot younger. Like maybe freshman in high school, maybe even only middle school when like GTA 1 came out.
Okay, GTA 2 then perhaps.
Perhaps.
Because it was a PlayStation game. I know that much. In any case, in any event, yeah, this book looks like it's going to be really, really cool. Not much else to say about it. We don't know. Fourth quarter of 2013. So we should.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto came out in 1997. Grand Theft Auto 2 came out in 1999.
Okay. Well, that's not that removed when we're talking about things that happened 13 to 16 years ago.
And it was for Windows, PlayStation, and Dreamcast.
Oh, well, hey now. If only I had my Dreamcast still.
Why'd you get rid of it?
'Cause I wasn't using it, and I was able to get lots of money for it.
That's a stupid reason.
And I got an Xbox.
That's an even stupider
360.
reason.
Well, it's not like I traded in for the Xbox One. I'd commit seppuku if I'd done that. So you should.
You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head at you right now.
If you shake your head at me, young man. Are you gonna make a Vine video of that? Put it up on our Twitter feed.
I don't even know what the hell Vine is. So
it's that
some newfangled thing kids are using these days. I don't know.
I think it's a new name for marijuana, but I could be wrong. He's smoking the Vine for only 6 seconds, repeatedly. So, Edge of the Empire fans can look forward to a couple of new books by the end of the year. You don't have to wait until next summer for your brand new Edge of the Empire items. And, well, we've been going for about an hour or so, but we've got one last little bit of news that we haven't mentioned, but it's still old news by now, honestly. And that's the Battlefront 3 teaser trailer from DICE. That was at, PAX East, I think it was, if I'm not too mistaken.
I think, you mean at E3?
Oh my gosh, was it E3? Man, my calendar is all kinds of messed up because I was, away for those 2 weeks of June, so I forgot when everything happened. So
this was just like, because E3 happened it was only a week after they announced that EA was getting the exclusive deal.
Yeah, no, you're right, because I think, I think it was the week before I went away for 2 weeks. Must have been. Huh. Well, in any case, I'm old, I'm going senile, what can I say? Are you at all excited for this?
Yeah, I mean, I am. I guess it all depends on what they do with the game. I mean, I loved Battlefield 2, but that's also the only game in the whole Battlefield series that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So, I mean, if it's like Battlefield 2, hey, I'll have a ton of fun. If it's Battlefield 3, if it's like Battlefield 3, I won't touch it because I hated Battlefield 3. I did not enjoy that game.
So what about it? Did you not like the fact that it was trying to be too Modern Warfare-y?
Yeah, some of that. And there's just, I don't know, it's a lot of stuff. But, to be fair, I didn't like the Battlefront games all that much either. I didn't think they were that great.
That's why I'm interested to see if you're excited, because I am definitely excited for it. I think it's going to be fantastic.
And you can't really say anything based on this trailer because this trailer essentially shows you nothing other than we're making a game.
Yeah, exactly.
And there will be a Hoth level on it.
Of course. I think that was my favorite thing about the planet Renvar, was that, look, there's another ice planet, and it's not Hoth. I suppose the same thing for Ilum now with SWTOR. It's like, yeah, it's an ice planet, but it's not Hoth, even though you just were at Hoth. Why does anyone go to Hoth? I don't understand. I mean, aside from trying to get away from the authorities, why would you go to Hoth? Why would anyone go to Hoth?
Because it was in the movies, and because it was in the movies, everything has to happen there now.
That's dumb.
You know? Just
Yeah.
like Tatooine. I mean, in reality, Tatooine is this little whole backwater planet. And yet, like, earth-shattering events seem to happen there with great regularity.
Yeah, they do. At least, of all places, Endor has not been done to death.
Well,
It's been done a little bit, but not done to death.
Well, you just wait. You haven't given EA enough time. I mean, they've started.
Yeah.
They put an Ewok in the game. So, next there's going to be a quest to go visit his home. And there's going to be a lady that turns into a monster. And
Are you thinking of the cartoon?
no, wasn't that in the movies? One of the movies.
Oh, you mean Caravan of Courage and, what was it, Battle for Endor?
I've never actually seen Caravan of Courage, just Battle for Endor.
Well, if you've seen one, you've seen them both.
You've seen more than enough.
Yeah, you've seen one too many. Yeah. I think that'd be hilarious if that was like, we've added 5 new levels and a brand new planet. You can go to Endor and you fight a woman who transforms into a monster. On Nightmare Mode, Operation Save the Kids.
Oh, God.
Operation Wicket is your wingman.
Wicked's not alive yet.
Well, it'd be his,
You're right. It'd probably be his
great-grandpa to the 10th
grandfather,
power.
who also happens to be named Wicket the Elder.
Or it'd be like Wicket O. Just like, you mean Wicket? No. This isn't Wicket. It's Wicket O. Wicket E.
They just call him Warwick.
Okay, now that's a good idea. That's actually a good idea. Just call him Warwick.
Although Wicket's last name was Warwick also.
But how many people actually know that?
I know it.
Well, yes, of course you know it. But I'm talking about flat scans. How, do you think they know it? Well, I think that's it. I think we're
over.
done. It's over.
The fish has jumped.
Oh, man. Now we gotta just have that be our thing. Like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, the fish has jumped. Have a good night. Woo! Instead of enjoy your burrito.
Yeah.
The fish has jumped. I smell a t-shirt.
I don't know if there's enough people who've sat to the end of the credits for that movie to get the joke.
You just have, like, a picture of Vegeta and Piccolo in silhouette, like with the sun going down on a t-shirt. Has to be like an orange t-shirt. And then just in black letters, the fish has jumped. All right. Well, we will wrap it up. The fish has indeed jumped. And how can people get a hold of us to tell us to stop being so stupid?
Well, you can't, because we'll never stop.
That's right. No matter how much you wish we would, we will never stop.
However, if you wish to futilely try to get us to stop being so stupid, you can reach us at moseisleyradio.com. Hit us up on the forums there. Email us at moseisleyradio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Mos Eisley Radio. You can complain on our Facebook or Google Plus pages, but we'll probably never see your Google Plus messages. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or the Zune Marketplace and leave a review on iTunes letting us know what a great poop cast we make.
I haven't checked in ages because none of our faithful listeners who have a discerning palate and approach content from a logical perspective have, stopped by to drop us a review there in a while.
Yeah, I checked a little while ago. The last one was still that one that was like, hey, what happened? Where are you guys?
Yeah, what's that guy got to say now, huh? Huh, guy? Apparently not much. All right. well, we will wrap this up, and until next time, which we're going to try to have it be not too far away. I think this one came out at a fairly good pace. Didn't keep you waiting too long. Until next time, Leo, unless you have any words of wisdom?
None. Never do.
Well, I keep hoping. All right, everybody, have a good night. The fish has jumped. Hooray!
Good night.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.